New tonight on Our News at 7, what's next for tackling the growing shantytown problem in Abaco? The press secretary reveals details about a new committee. Plus, a teen sentenced for stealing $1, the circumstances that led to the charges. And our Marlena Leonard takes a closer look at how Bahamians are observing an American Thanksgiving Day. And then in Our News at 7:30, it's a war of words as the leader of the opposition says the Progressive Liberal Party is looking to distract with talks of a former cabinet minister. Our News, live at 7, starts now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kendino Knowles. Hundreds of illegal shantytown structures across the country about to be cataloged by a newly formed interministerial committee. Earlier this month, it was revealed that over 260 structures were found in Abaco shantytowns alone, with the problem getting worse. Jamila Mizik gets us started tonight.
An interministerial committee has been recommended to address the issue of a growing shantytown in Abaco, that according to Press Secretary Clint Watson. But he says this is not to be confused with the Shantytown Committee put in place by the former administration.
A part of the committee will include the Minister of Works, obviously, the Minister responsible for immigration because of that component that's involved, national security because of that nature as well, Minister of Social Services, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
It was recently revealed that the farm shantytown grew by an estimated 200 acres since Hurricane Dorian back in 2019. Since the monster storm decimated the Mud and Pigeon Peak shantytowns, officials say a new shantytown was formed off Essebutle Highway. Watson says a difficulty has been Bahamians facilitating the persons for the structures, adding that some of the land had been issued to Bahamian farmers, but instead they are renting the space.
You can't move somebody who's occupying a space who has permission by the person who legally has rights to that space, and they're saying that, well, I'm paying rent. This is what is happening to these payment people. Now you have to now go to the Bahamians who are occupying and doing this and take other matters into their hands.
The press secretary says they will catalog all of the illegal structures in the Bahamas.
There are not just illegal structures in Abaco. There are illegal structures in Exuma, Andros, North Eleuthera. And so what the committee will do once they get this information is identify where these structures are, who are in these structures, how many of these structures exist. And then, of course, the law will be followed regarding the proper servicing of notice to the persons occupying the homes.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
And House Speaker Patricia DeVoe on the defense once again over her handling of parliamentary sessions. Opposition members have criticized the Speaker's aggressive style, saying she sometimes treats members like children. Ahead of this week's parliamentary session, DeVoe saying anytime a woman is in charge, aggression is always misconstrued.
I didn't question anything when the men were running it and they were in charge, right? So I'm saying this to say, a woman has to work double down hard when you're in a man's world. And so my aggressiveness is not just to put them in their place, but to take control of the house and make sure that the people's business is conducted in the right fashion. And that is expected by this country. I'm bringing decorum and respect back to the floor of the House of Assembly.
A brazen robbery caught on tape in Abaco Tuesday, now under active police investigation. Police say two masked men seen in this surveillance footage, one of them armed with an assault rifle, robbed a convenience store of an undetermined amount of cash. The incident happening shortly before 9 o'clock on George Aubrey Boulevard. The shopkeeper who was held up was unharmed, but police say the two who were driving a silver Japanese vehicle escaped heading east. 24 suspects, including a juvenile, arraigned on several offenses in the magistrate's court on San Salvador yesterday. Among the offenses, possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply, causing harm, assault with a deadly weapon, assaulting a police officer, traffic infractions, disorderly behavior, and obscene language. 22 suspects pleaded guilty, were fined, placed on probation, and ordered into community service. The other two suspects pleaded not guilty. Well, a teenager who stole $1 from his neighbor's truck, also placed on 6 months probation and ordered to perform 50 hours of community service. The juvenile panel handed down the sentence to the 13-year-old after reviewing a probation report. The teen, who was arrested on July 21st, admitting the theft on July 22nd and was freed on $500 pending sentencing. We've got a lot more to get to, but for now, we are going to take you straight over to the Weather Center where meteorologist Greg Thompson is standing by with a look at temperatures across the country. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Ken. You know, and a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. A very nice evening outdoors right now, if you haven't done your Thanksgiving dinner yet. 81 degrees under mostly clear skies. Your winds are out of the east at 8 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature. It's very comfortable out there at 80 degrees. Temperatures around the Family Violence tonight, 80 in Freeport, 79 across in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, Allenstown, Bimini, 81, 84 in Great Harbor Key, over in Governor's Harbor, you are 81 at this hour. Nicholstown, Andros, 80 in the central Bahamas, temperatures also in the low 80s there with 81 in Kemps Bay. Arthurstown, Cat Island, 80, 79 in Comertown, San Salvador, 83 in Georgetown, Deadman's Key, 85 into the southeast Bahamas, also in the low 80s there with 85 in Duncantown, Ragged Island, 80 in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, Delectable Bay, 82 also in Abraham's Bay. We pick up 79 in Turks and Caicos Islands and across in Matthewtown, Inagua, rounding out our temperature profile at 82. Satellite view, quiet around the islands. Once again, high pressure remains in charge. Not much in terms of any clouds across the area. We did have a couple of spotty showers near the Bimini area. There's a weak disturbance just in the north of Grand Bahama generating a few showers, but all in all, very, very lovely Thanksgiving evening setting up, and we will continue to see these same conditions experienced for tomorrow. That's your first check of weather. Stick with us to look at the tropics, and your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, how the Ministry of Education is working to close the gaps of learning loss. And did you eat turkey today? We take a closer look at how Bahamians are recognizing the American holiday. Plus, how you can snag deals and discounts with Alive this Black Friday. It's all coming up when Our News returns. Pandemic-driven learning loss in the country about to be addressed as we are now learning that a company has been selected to help education officials address the issue. Here's Education Minister Glenys Hannah Martin speaking at today's OPM press briefing.
And we have identified or appointed or contract
when our new
a project officer who is a former distinguished educator Bahamian, she will marshal the entire process. The next step is that we will train teachers who will assist in rolling out the testing, and we're hoping we can do it simultaneously, not one, that we can test across the board in a short period of time. And once we're able to measure what is happening in each instance, there will be programs designed to help accelerate the learning loss.
The pandemic-driven learning loss as peculiar.
The fact that many young people have not been online or were online but were not really online and couldn't function online. And so, but this is happening all over. We're seeing this issue and we're seeking to be in front of it. And so I'm hoping that in another couple of weeks, we'll be able to identify dates certain when the testing will roll out.
Well, today is Thanksgiving in the United States, and across that country, families are sitting down for their annual Thanksgiving dinner. But they won't be the only ones. Our Marlena Leonard has the story.
Every year, American Thanksgiving falls on the fourth Thursday in November, but it seems that as the years go by, more and more Bahamians seem to be participating. In fact, according to our social media surveys, 53% of Bahamians are celebrating in some form. But why? Here's what some Bahamian Thanksgiving celebrators had to say.
I really feel as if more Bahamians are participating because we have so much to be thankful for. And Thanksgiving is about family, it's about friends, and it's a precursor to the Christmas celebration. So
Thanksgiving for Bahamians is almost like Christmas because we're celebrating, it seems like each year it's getting bigger and bigger, the Thanksgiving celebration.
I bought a big scrumptious meal that I will enjoy later with my family, and I'm going to put up my Christmas tree the same time.
Some argue it's the holiday's menu that draws the crowd, and it seems it's a sentiment shared by most. Almost 70% of those surveyed said that Thanksgiving food is the cause of the holiday catching on in our country. Some even call for it to become an official holiday here, even if it's under a different name. Whether you're celebrating for the food or for the attitude of gratitude, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, thanks a lot, Marlena, and be sure and stay tuned for Our News at 7:30. We've got more coverage of local Thanksgiving observances coming up. And we are now hours away from local Black Friday deals. Over at Alive, the deals are said to be unmatched across the country. We've got more about the in-store deals you'll find tomorrow, also coming up in Our News at 7:30. But if you're unable to go in store, Alive's mobility arm is operational with treats, TV giveaways, cell phones, and all at the best prices. Alive mobile outlets, better known as the People's Vans, are in various locations across the country. In New Providence, you can find them on East Street South, East and Broome Streets, Ponciana Drive, Carmichael Road, Tonic Williams Starling Highway, Quality Home Center on Prince Charles Drive, and the Plaza del Sol out east. Now, Alive General Manager of Mobility Sales, Rory Major, says service starts from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
We are definitely matching the competitor and going lower. We're giving out devices, we're giving out S21s, we're giving out from the lowest end Samsung to the highest end Samsung, and Samsung TVs. We'll be giving out t-shirts, paraphernalia, sweet treats for those who purchase. But it's just getting back to some type of normalcy. This is going to be our first one, with it not being so locked down and so forth.
Alive Affinity Team is also offering a concierge service for people who may be unable to get out of work or leave home, and will deliver products right to their front doors. The service also being offered on-site at Bahamas and Atlantis with special deals for employees. Chase Taylor is Affinity Sales Manager for New Providence.
When you go to the mobility vans, you're going to meet us there because we know the need of persons cannot move. Mobility, meaning that when you're in a particular place and you can't get to us, we can come to you. So each community will see our vans, and it's love. It's about us reaching out and making sure that even if you don't have a car, you have to catch the bus. We're going to be placed in areas that you are going to be able to see us.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world. Remember those childhood vaccinations? Well, you may want to make sure your kids are up to date, as vaccine disruptions have put millions of children at risk for measles. Plus, what does a climate loss and damage fund mean for the Bahamas? And later, Joe Billy Park comes alive with a Thanksgiving treat. The details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Indonesian rescuers narrowing their focus Thursday to a landslide where dozens of people were believed to be trapped after an earthquake killed at least 272 people, more than a third of them children. Many of the more than 1,000 rescuers were using backhoes, sniffer dogs, and life detectors, as well as their bare hands to search the worst-hit area where a landslide set off by Monday's quake left tons of mud, rocks, and broken trees. Rescue efforts were temporarily suspended Wednesday as heavy monsoon rainfalls happened. China has recorded its highest number of daily COVID cases since the pandemic began, despite stringent measures designed to eliminate the virus. Several major cities, including the capital Beijing and southern trade hub Guangzhou, are experiencing outbreaks. Wednesday saw 31,527 cases recorded, compared with an April peak of 28,000. The numbers are still tiny for a country of 1.4 billion people, and officially just over 5,200 have died since the pandemic began. Meanwhile, Apple supplier Foxconn has apologized for a technical error in its payment system a day after its iPhone factory in China was rocked by angry protests. Videos had showed hundreds of workers marching at the world's biggest iPhone factory in the city of Zhangzhou over COVID restrictions and claims of overdue pay. And a UN report says cocaine production boomed in Colombia during the pandemic, with the total area harvested for cocoa leaves growing 43% in 2021. A new annual survey by the UN Office on Drug and Crime says the amount of potential cocoa produced grew a further 14%. It's why experts believe Colombia is producing more cocaine than ever in its history. Just this week, 2 women were detained in Colombian airports after trying to smuggle nearly 2 kilos of cocaine hidden in hair extensions.
The Anti-Narcotics Directorate, through the controls carried out by our men and women at the country's airports, managed to carry 2 women when they were trying to take out to Europe 2 kilos of cocaine hidden in hair extensions by using passenger profiling skills. One of them was captured at the Jose Maria Cordova International Airport in the city of Rio Negro when they were trying to take a flight to Madrid.
And nearly 40 million children are at risk of getting measles due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A joint report by the World Health Organization and the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says pandemic-related disruptions caused 25 million boys and girls to miss their first dose of the vaccine last year, while another 14.7 million did not get the second dose. The record decline in vaccination coverage represents a significant setback in global progress to combat the disease. COP27 is over, but the work leading toward the establishment of a loss and damage fund is one of the key takeaways that will have ripple effects throughout the region. Here's Christina Dragovic.
Bahamas first, putting sustainability first for our people and our environment. What's first for you and the planet comes first for us.
It's a step Prime Minister Philip Davis says is a long overdue step in the right direction in the fight for climate justice. The establishment of a loss and damage fund to provide payouts to developing countries like the Bahamas that are affected most by climate change. Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Simon Steele, summed it up in his COP27 closing remarks.
We've determined a way forward on a decade-long conversation on funding for loss and damage, deliberating over how we address the impacts on communities whose lives and livelihoods have been ruined by the very worst impacts of climate change.
Steele says the fund will provide one pillar of the response required to ensure loss and damage is addressed. Now that countries have committed to the fund, what's next? Well, a transitional committee will be put in place to operationalize the new funding arrangements for consideration and adoption by COP28 in 2023.
The cost of inaction is far, far greater than the cost of action.
Meanwhile, the Bahamas is still on a mission to become the first country in the world to sell blue carbon credits, a move the PM hopes will compensate the Bahamas for protecting and restoring mangroves and sea grasses. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovic.
Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was November 24th with the 1861 introduction of the first consecrated bishop of Nassau. Plus, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. And then in our news at 7:30, deals, deals, deals this Black Friday, how you can grab some discounts locally. Stay with us.
Oh yeah, Charlie Bahamas.
Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was November 24th. Take a look. On this this day in Bahamian history, in 1861, Dr. Charles Caulfield, the successor of Archdeacon True, was consecrated the first Bishop of Nassau in Lambeth Palace, the London residence of the Archbishop of Canterbury. The new bishop arrived in Nassau in May 1862, and the town of Nassau became a city. The letters patent were proclaimed with much ceremony on the steps of the public buildings by the provost marshal and were read in Christ Church Cathedral in the presence of a large number of parishioners and government officials. Then in 2004, British-Canadian author Arthur Haley, best-selling international novelist, died at his residence in Lyford Key. Haley wrote novels such as Hotel, Airport, The Money Changers, and Overload. Several of his works were later made into films. After the financial success of Airport, Haley moved as a tax exile to the Bahamas and had intended to stay for just 2 years, but liked it so much that he remained here for the rest of his life. Then on November 24, 2011, the first Battle for Atlantis basketball tournament took place at the Imperial Arena on Paradise Island. The inaugural champions were Harvard, who defeated the University of Central Florida. And on this day in 2017, the country bid farewell in an official funeral for the late Sir Arlington Butler at Christ Church Cathedral. The former Minister of National Security and parliamentarian, escorted by officers and Marines of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, was buried at Lakeview Memorial Gardens and Mausoleums. In world history, November 24, 1963 saw the death of Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of U.S. President John F. Kennedy. Oswald was shot dead by Jack Ruby in the underground garage of the Dallas Police Headquarters. In 1991, rock star Freddie Mercury, singer with the band Queen, died of AIDS. And finally, in 2005, Pat Morita, the Japanese-American actor in the Karate Kid movies, died at the age of 73. Brothers in Unity hosting their 9th Thanksgiving dinner give back on Jubilee Park this afternoon. Over 200 residents in the Bain and Grantstown community enjoying hot Thanksgiving meals thanks to the efforts of community and corporate organizations. Chairman of Foreign Escape, Precious Thompson, says the event is near and dear to her family.
My brother, in his absence, Hillard Thompson, he is the driving force of this event. This park is sentimental to us because this is a street where my father had a lot of contributions in the community. And so we're so excited. COVID had put a little damper where we resorted to drive through, but we're back at it. We're fully engaged and we're working along with Urban Renewal, FIE, and of course, Alive, we love so much. And today, we're looking to feed over 200 persons in the community and let them enjoy a wonderful meal. The food is great. It was prepared by showman, their beverages, their little treat bags.
KO Bahamas group of companies sponsored the event, which Thompson says is desperately needed, especially during this time of year.
Even though you may go on to do other things, you always come back to community because community is hard. And so it's important for us to continuously find ways to impact, find ways to outreach, find ways that we're the lights in these communities because there are a lot of people going through rough times. And so today is all about joy. Today is about enjoy an amazing meal, enjoy the company, the great music.
All right, what a wonderful effort. And to learn more about that and any of the stories that you saw on News Today, you can visit ournews.bs. That does it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is our Talia Hall with the latest headlines. Talia, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. And did you take part in the festivities today? The traditional ham and turkey, macaroni?
I did not. I did get food, though.
Okay.
I haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
I know you had some.
I did.
Some
I'm
food.
Stuffed.
I'm
stuffed.
You
no
better
more
now?
for me. I'm better.
Did you have the gum?
Yes.
All right.
All right. So we have lots more news to get to, including the leader of the FNM speaking out following reports that a former FNM cabinet minister is being investigated.
Why the Free National Movement leader says the government is looking to distract by raising questions about an alleged investigation into a former cabinet minister. And a gas station pump attendant got quite the shock when a sword was pulled by an irate customer. Plus, the education minister addresses concerns over a teacher shortage. And how you can shop local and save this Black Friday. Our Megan Shepard has the story. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard weighing in on rumors that former Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Lanisha Rule is the subject of a police investigation. Pintard summing it up as a distraction.
Each time the Progressive Liberal Party finds itself in hot water, they publicly indicate details relative to any ongoing investigations concerning the opposition. We always welcome transparency in examining both administrations.
Sources telling our news that Rule is not under investigation. Rule says she has not been approached by police. The former Seabreeze MP resigned from her cabinet-appointed post back in February of 2021, but gave little detail as to why she chose to step down. Now Pintard says every time the PLP finds themselves in hot water, this happens.
The Prime Minister is unable to adequately answer why he and Alfred Sayers did not act appropriately when given good advice on how to save the Bahamian people, what is now amounted to over $100 million. They should also update us on the investigations relative to a cabinet minister being accused of hitting an officer with a vehicle, and no less than the Staff Association weighing in on that matter.
Well, with the shantytown problem in Abaco worsening, the Davis administration has promised to address the issue. An interministerial committee is set to begin work, according to Press Secretary Clint Watson, who says their first order of business is to catalog the illegal structures. Watson adding that this newest committee is not to be confused with the shantytown committee put in place by the former administration.
This is a new committee that has been recommended, and a part of the committee will include the Minister of Works, obviously, the Minister responsible for immigration because of that component that's involved, national security because of that nature as well, Minister of Social Services, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
It was recently revealed that the farm shantytown grew by an estimated 200 acres since Hurricane Dorian back in 2019. Since the monster storm decimated the Mud and Pigeon Pea shantytowns, officials say a new shantytown was formed off S.C. Boodle Highway. Watson says one of the challenges are Bahamians facilitating the persons for structures, adding that some of the land had been issued to Bahamian farmers, but instead they are renting the space.
You can't move somebody who's occupying a space who has permission by the person who legally has rights to that space, and they're saying that, well, I'm paying rent. This is what is happening to these payment people. Now you have to now go to the Bahamians who are occupying and doing this and take other matters into their hands.
A man who attacked a pump attendant with a sword during an argument over his smoking has been ordered to perform community service. 36-year-old Michael Hanna pleaded guilty to assault with a deadly weapon and causing harm in relation to the November 22nd incident. Kirby June was on duty at the Esso gas station at East Bay and Fowler Street when he got into an argument with Hanna, who chopped him on the left forearm with a sword. The injury was not serious, according to a medical report. Hanna said the argument stemmed from June telling him he was not allowed to smoke at the pump. Hanna begged the court for leniency, claiming that he was not in his right frame of mind on the day in question. He claimed that he was under the influence of alcohol and Molly at the time of the incident. Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt ordered Hanna to pay June $250 in compensation during a court appearance on November 30th. He was also ordered to perform community service at the Good Samaritan Senior Citizens Home. Hanna has until January 9 to complete his community service. Well, mobile division officers arrested 4 men within the last few days. The suspects, whose ages range from 26 to 36 years old, were arrested for attempted rape, assault, damage, resisting arrest, outstanding warrants, among other offenses. The officers also stopped and searched 95 vehicles, which resulted in 17 traffic citations being issued. The officers also visited over 60 businesses to offer safety tips. Well, a warm and mostly clear evening outside the Our News studios. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is live in the Weather Center with the latest. Good evening, Greg.
And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I did hear you were talking with Kendino about some Thanksgiving meal. We'll get to you about that in a little while. But 80 degrees outside our studios right now under mostly clear skies. Your winds are out of the east-northeast at 9 miles per hour. and your field side temperature very comfortable, 79 degrees. Around the area today on our satellite, nothing to really talk about. High pressure in charge, light winds, and just some patchy clouds moving across. A couple isolated showers, mainly on the Big Yard, Andros, and a couple up near the Bimini area. All of that will be dissipating as the evening goes on, and we're looking for very nice conditions tonight to tomorrow. That's your first check on weather. Stick with us and look at the tropics, and your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the Minister of Education weighs in on a teacher shortage in the country. And when will motorists get relief from village roadworks? A new completion date is set. The details are straight ahead. And a local church serves up hot meals on Thanksgiving. That story is still ahead on our news at 7:30. Education Minister Glenys Hannah Martin once again addressing the issue of teacher shortages across the country. She says while it has not been a mass exodus of educators, there's a teacher shortage in specific subject areas.
Mathematics, in the sciences, and something we call a generalist, which goes into primary school and can teach anything. These are the critical areas, and then of course you have like the technical skills. That's always a concern. But the major thing we're facing right now is language arts, English teachers, and we're trying very hard. I mean, and we know that there are islands now that are still experiencing deficits. We are aware. We are concerned.
Hannah Martin adding that a major area of concern is that many teachers are not willing to relocate to the family islands.
Particularly in places like Abaco, where it's post-hurricane and also high cost of accommodations, high cost of living, I'm told. And then the smaller keys where, you realize that sort of, reduced circumstances in terms of access, etc. So this is the thing, and we are trying very hard as we recruit to ensure our teachers understand we didn't hire you necessarily to go to school in New Providence.
Well, some good news for residents and business owners on Village Road. Work is expected to be complete on the thoroughfare next month. The $6.4 million Village Road Improvement Project was originally expected to be completed in September, but work is still ongoing. Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson, made the announcement at today's OPM press briefing.
All utilities, BPL, Water and Sewage, Cable Bahamas, all of those utility companies are finished doing whatever work they need to be done. They're closing up those holes. Paving is expected to begin on the 3rd of December and will last until the 12th of December. And thereafter, the road is expected to be fully completed and opened.
Now, the project is designed to rehabilitate, improve the level of service, and execute upgrades to various buried utilities on 0.9 miles of roadway on Village Road between St. Andrews and Montague Beach. But what about other roads throughout the island?
We all drive on the same roads. So we feel the grief as well when the roads are bad. They've been in that state for a long time. They didn't just get bad last week or last year. They've been in that state for some time. And the administration, Prime Minister Davis, as you know, is a former Minister of Works. He is committed to ensuring that capital works, road repairs, street lights, as you see the Grass Street Light program has begun. People are getting lights turned on back in their neighborhoods. It is happening.
It's another one of those American traditions we've adopted right here at home. The Friday following Thanksgiving usually means deals, deals, and more deals. Well, tonight, these businesses are encouraging residents to shop at home this Black Friday and throughout the holidays. Megan Shepard reports.
It's that time of year to give back and to spread some holiday cheer through gift giving. Or you may simply want to treat yourself. What better way than to take advantage of Black Friday deals? If you're in need of a new device or other amazing prices and surprises, retail sales channel manager at Alive, Kiran Chase, says we've got you covered.
Our stores will be open as early as 6 a.m. That goes for the mobile vans as well. We have deals and offers for our porting subscribers who want to switch over to the Live network, starting at $29.
Chase says there's also a number of ways you can win free devices.
What we want you to do is make sure that you're active on social media. So as we post on Instagram and Twitter, please make sure that you reshare, share on WhatsApp. We're watching you closely and we're going to reward our customers with offers.
But what about other hot button items? Marketing director at CBS Bahamas, Sean Gomez, and supervisor at John Bull, Nino McCarty, share what you can expect.
We now have a store in Robinson Road called the CBS Pro Store, and so for the first time we'll be having Black Friday sales at both locations. We're gonna offer up to 75% off, so you can come down. We have waffle makers, air fryers, we have griddles.
For the promotions going on, it's just for Pandora, and it's 30% off Black Friday, so I invite you to come on down. Let's spend that money.
And although Black Friday is an American tradition, they all agree that Bahamians enjoy the hype of the experience and, of course, the sales.
It brings the excitement. We get a chance to, expand the way that we go to market from an Alive perspective, and our customers love to show up and take advantage of those deals.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, a church feeds hundreds of people, gifting them with a hot meal for Thanksgiving.
Plus, coming up in sports for this evening, we'll take you to the championship or final game of the Pink Flamingo Championship. Speaking of championships, we'll also delve into what's going on in GSSA as their championships are underway. And, of course, latest from the New Providence Basketball Association coming up in sports.
And it's party time in Pompeii. We have all of the details when our news returns.
This is our news. Welcome back. You've heard the story of the Feeding the 5,000. Well, today, a local church spreading Thanksgiving cheer by giving out 2,500 hot meals. Bertha McDermott has the details.
Operation Thanksgiving is back for a third year and is feeding 2,500 people. United Faith Ministries Senior Pastor Apostle Falman Ferguson says the initiative started during the pandemic to help those who fell on hard times. This year, he says the goal is to just give back.
Trying to, give a hands up to those in our community who are still hurting, many who are still without a job and in need just of a hot meal.
Now, this isn't the first time United Faith Ministries is putting on this initiative. Last year, cars lined Fire Trail Road leading on to Somilo Butler Highway, and today it seems to be a similar scene. We spoke to the senior pastor who said they tried to start a bit earlier to change that this time around.
We knew if we could start early, we would prevent the traffic block up.
Cars fill the yard of the church with grateful residents patiently waiting to get their Thanksgiving meal.
For a church to be given back to the general public is a blessing.
It's a nice thing what the pastor do.
This program is excellent. This is my first time here, so I'm very grateful.
Last year, the church aimed to feed 3,500 people, but according to Ferguson, the church dished out 5,000 plates. This year, the number has been reduced to 2,500 plates. Ferguson says inflation resulting in the rising cost of food has made putting on the initiative a little harder.
Now, what we paid for turkey and ham last year almost doubled this year.
He says even though the country is bouncing back, he was shocked by what he saw, adding that many are still in need. He says in putting on initiatives like these, a little help goes a long way.
When we do this outreach, we also need the partnership of those in corporate Bahamas and those who are able to give a hand up.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks, Berthany. Well, the Pink Flamingo Championship wrapping up in Bahamas. Meanwhile, the government school baseball championships underway and the latest from the New Providence Basketball Association. Here's Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Last night at Bahamas, it was another chance for Coach Yolette McPhee-McEwen and her Ole Miss Lady Rebels to stay unbeaten. Going into last night, they were 5-0 on the season, going up against the Utes of Utah. University of Utah trying to play obstacle. They're a ranked team. Let's see how it went down. Final night of action in the Pink Flamingo Championships at the Bahamas Convention Center. Utah going up against Ole Miss. Ole Miss, of course, featuring head coach Yolette McPhee-McEwen of Grand Bahama descent. This one will be a pretty good game as it would go right down to the wire. Coach Yo patrolling the sidelines, working the referees, and with good reason because this one, again, would be a battle right to the very end. Utah, though, they get the win 69-67. Ole Miss taking their first loss of this season. So it's back to the drawing board for Ole Miss and Coach Yo as they get ready to head out of town and back to their friendly confines in Mississippi. Meanwhile, we got some news coming in from the New Providence Basketball Association last night. Division II and Division I teams on the snide. Let's take a look at what's going on at the AF Valley Gym. Cybertech, they took on the Rebels in Division II play. Cybertech getting the win 82-77. Meanwhile, over in Division I, it was the TMT Giants going up against the Tucker Boys. This one turned out to be a pretty good game. Giants get the win here. 73-63 ends up being your final. Now, taking a look at some things from the government schools. Government schools playoff action, championship action yesterday over at the Blue Hills playing fields. Very quickly breaking it down for you as the championship getting underway. Junior girls, H.O. Nash, they beat L.W. Young 18-2. Meanwhile, on the junior boy side of things, AF Valley over S.C. McPherson 8-0. Senior girls, Doris Johnson, they beat C.R. Walker 16-2. And in senior boys baseball, R.M. Bailey, they beat C.R. Walker 1-0. All four series set to continue today. We'll give you details on that coming up tomorrow. And that's indeed your look at sports here on this Wednesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, visitors to the Bahamas celebrated the holidays away from home, but the Ministry of Tourism made it something to remember. Plus, mostly sunny skies ahead. Your extended weather forecast is up next, right after this break.
Welcome back to Our News. Seems like temperatures are now in the mid-80s. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather forecast. Good evening again, Greg.
Yeah, good evening again, Natalia. Happy Thanksgiving. I've been saying that all evening.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
Yeah, we've been having some very nice weather for the last couple of days as the ridge of high pressure continues to dominate. We had a couple of frontal boundaries to the north of the islands. Those fronts have lifted quite well to the north of us. The other one really is pushed out in the Atlantic. There is a storm system taking shape across the southeastern United States. A frontal boundary will be attached to that, but it will not get into the Bahamas. Just approach us by Friday, and then we expect even another front as another storm system takes shape across the Texas and the southwestern portion of the United States. That should get in here sometime late Saturday into Sunday and possibly bring us a couple isolated showers across the northwest Bahamas. But it is going to be very dry, very quiet for us for the next several days. Temperatures, as you mentioned, Natalia, will be a little warmer. They should be really in the low 80s, but we expect mid to upper 80s over the next couple of days. So unseasonably warm for this time of the year. Of course, we are about a week left in the official Atlantic hurricane season, and there's nothing out there. Everything is quiet. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected throughout the next 5 days. Taking a look at our future forecast, some moisture to the north of us will basically fizzle out. There's a frontal boundary, as I mentioned, that will get very near us. Should be just across the northwest Bahamas by Friday, Saturday time frame. But that's not going to be a problem. This is the other one that we're going to continue to watch. Should get in here by Sunday, as I mentioned, with a couple isolated showers. Boating forecast, nice on the waters tonight through the northwest Bahamas, southeast to south 10 knots, seas running 1 to 3 feet. High tide will be at 7:51 tonight. For the southeast and central Bahamas, east to southeast winds slightly stronger, 15 knots. Seas will be running 3 to 5 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. And in your extended forecast, well, quiet. Couple of isolated showers, but those temperatures will be approaching the mid to upper 80s. Overnight low temperatures will stay in the low 70s. That's a look at our weather. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving evening, everybody.
All right, Greg. Was looking forward to some cooler temperatures, but the good news is there's nothing brewing in the Atlantic right now.
Nothing at all.
All right, great news. Well, entertainment in Pompeii Square bringing together musicians, actors, residents, and visitors today. Marlena Leonard joined in on the fun and has this report.
Guests got a special treat today with entertainment in Pompeii Square, featuring performances from live musicians, storytellers, and even a Junkanoo rush hour.
Music, stories, and laughter filled the square today during the Ministry of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation's first Entertainment in Pompeii event. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Chester Cooper, tells us about the pilot event.
We wanted our tourists to get a deeper sense of our culture and our heritage.
Musicians are frequently featured in cultural events, but this time, Bahamian actors and storytellers also took center stage. One of the actors, Dion Johnson, won the crowd over with laughs and Bahamian vocabulary lessons.
My job in particular is to try to create that relationship and to be the intermediary person that allows us to understand that as a client, you can get exactly what you want from the industry, which provides what everyone wants to come to the Bahamas for, which is culture.
And guests were definitely moved by the performances.
Just the cultural side of it, seeing their outfits and the beach, everything's awesome. We've already talked to them, man, this is a place to come back here at another holiday.
If you're a performer interested in taking part in any future entertainment in Pompeii events, Tourism Ministry Manager for Domestic Communications, Rosanne O'Deal, shares how you can throw your hat in the ring.
Just reach out to the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism, the Communications Department, and we want to develop a database to where, hey, we rotate, the roster to give everyone an opportunity to highlight their talent, showcase their talent. So reach out to the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism. We'll make sure I get you down.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlene.
All right, thanks for that report, Marlena. And to watch that story and all of your other favorite stories from tonight's newscast, you can visit ournews.bs or visit the Our News Bahamas Facebook page. And with that, we thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening. Charlie, did you?